Two black kids find a baby in the lake, white, freezing, and alone. But when they turn on the TV, they see her face on a missing child poster. And that's when everything changes. Stay with me. The sky broke open that Tuesday afternoon, the rain falling like a blessing on the parched soil of Millfield. For 10-year-old twins Greg and Maya Johnson, it meant their fishing trip at Cedar Lake might be cut short. They had slipped away from Grandma Ellie's watchful eye during her afternoon nap, eager to try out the new fishing rods they'd received for their birthday last week. "Maybe we should head back," Maya suggested, pulling her yellow raincoat tighter around her small frame. The drops were getting bigger, splashing onto the muddy path that led down to their secret fishing spot. Greg shook his head, determination etched on his face. "Just a little longer," Dad said. "The fish bite better when it rains." The twins had been staying with their grandmother for 3 weeks now while their parents worked through what they called adult problems. Maya missed her own bed and the familiar sounds of her home. She knew Greg did too, though he'd never admit it. As they reached the lake's edge, something unusual caught Maya's attention. A soft sound, barely audible over the rain, drifted from a tangle of reeds about 30 feet away. "Did you hear that?" she asked, grabbing her brother's arm. Greg nodded slowly, his eyes scanning the shoreline. "Sounds like a baby," Maya finished, already moving toward the sound. "Hook, what would you do if you discovered this baby was part of a sinister plot? What they found hidden among the tall reeds would change their lives forever." A small wicker basket partially covered with a soaked pink blanket. Inside, a tiny baby girl with pale skin and wisps of blonde hair wailed weakly, her tiny fists punching the air. "Oh my God," Maya whispered, immediately slipping off her raincoat and reaching for the child. "She's freezing." Greg looked around frantically. "Where's her mother? Who would leave a baby here?" The infant couldn't have been more than a few months old. Her cries grew stronger as Maya lifted her from the wet basket, cradling her against her chest. "We need to get her warm," Mia said urgently. "And call somebody." "Police," Greg agreed, looking more scared than Maya had ever seen him. "But Grandma's house is closer than the police station." Mia nodded, already turning back toward the path, shielding the baby from the rain. "Run ahead. Tell Grandma to call 911. As they hurried back through the woods, the reality of what they'd found began to sink in. Someone had left this baby alone by the lake, left her to die. Who would do something like this? Maya asked, her voice breaking. Greg didn't answer. He didn't have to. The same horrible thought was running through both their minds. Grandma Ellie's hands trembled as she wrapped the baby in fresh, dry blankets. Her face, usually so calm and steady, was pale with shock. "Lord have mercy," she murmured, checking the infant for injuries. "She seems okay, just cold and hungry." The police arrived within minutes, filling the small house with official voices and questions. Officer Jenkins, a tall woman with kind eyes, gently took the baby while her partner interviewed the twins about exactly where and how they'd found her. "You two did the right thing," Officer Jenkins told Greg and Maya. "You probably saved this little one's life." The twins watched as paramedics examined the baby before preparing to transport her to the hospital. Despite everything, Mia felt a strange connection to the child. Those big blue eyes had locked onto hers with such trust when she'd first lifted her from the basket. "What will happen to her now?" Maya asked Officer Jenkins. "Well, we'll try to find her family," the officer explained. "And if we can't right away, social services will make sure she's taken care of." As the ambulance drove away, Greg and Maya stood on the porch watching until it disappeared around the corner. Their fishing trip seemed like it had happened days ago rather than just hours. "You think they'll find who left her there?" Greg asked quietly. Before Maya could answer, Grandma Ellie called them inside. "Come on now. You two need to get dried off and have some dinner. It's been quite a day. Later that evening, as they helped their grandmother wash the dishes, the local news came on the television in the living room. The reporter's voice caught their attention immediately. Breaking news tonight. An infant reported missing from the neighboring county of Westridge was found alive this afternoon by two children near Cedar Lake. Authorities are not releasing details at this time, but have confirmed the child appears to be in good health. Meanwhile, police are searching for the baby's mother, African Legacy Tales reports. Greg and Maya exchanged startled looks and rushed into the living room just as the station displayed a photograph on the screen. There, smiling back at them, was a familiar face, a young blonde woman holding the very same baby they had rescued. Below the image, bold text proclaimed, "Missing, Amber Sullivan, 24, and her 3-month-old daughter, Emily." Maya felt her breath catch in her throat. The baby wasn't abandoned. She was taken. And suddenly, finding her didn't feel like the end of the story, but the beginning of something much more dangerous. "Grandma," Maya called out, her voice rising in panic. "Come look at this." Grandma Ellie hurried in from the kitchen, dish towel still in hand. Her eyes widened as she took in the news report and the photo displayed on the screen. "Lord have mercy," she whispered, sinking slowly into her recliner. "That poor mother. But where is she?" Greg asked, unable to tear his eyes from the television. "If the baby was at the lake, where's the mom?" The news anchor continued, his voice grave. Amber Sullivan and her daughter Emily were reported missing 3 days ago when Amber failed to show up for her shift at Westridge Memorial Hospital, where she works as a nurse. Colleagues became concerned when she didn't answer phone calls or texts, which they described as completely out of character. Police entered her home yesterday and found signs of a disturbance, but no leads on their whereabouts until today's discovery of the infant. The report shifted to footage of Cedar Lake, where police tape now cordoned off the area where Greg and Maya had been fishing just hours before. Officers in uniforms combed the shoreline, and divers could be seen preparing to search the water. Grandma Ellie reached for the phone. "I need to call your parents. They should know what's happening." The mention of their parents snapped the twins back to their own reality. They'd been so caught up in the drama of finding the baby that they'd momentarily forgotten the reason they were staying with Grandma in the first place. "Will this make Mom and Dad come back sooner?" Maya asked hopefully. Grandma Ellie's expression softened. "I don't know, sweetie. They still have things to work through." As Grandma stepped into the kitchen to make the call, the twins huddled closer together on the couch. "I keep thinking about how cold she was," Maya whispered. "Baby Emily, she must have been so scared." Greg nodded, his usual bravado replaced by a sullen thoughtfulness. "Someone must have just left her there, Maya. Right where we go fishing all the time." The coincidence struck them both at the same moment. Their secret fishing spot wasn't on any map. It was hidden, accessible only by a narrow path that most people in town didn't even know existed. Their dad had shown it to them last summer, saying his own father had brought him there when he was a boy. How did the baby get there? Greg voiced the question aloud. "That's not a place people just happen to find." Maya felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with her still damp clothes. "You don't think?" A sharp knock at the front door interrupted her. Through the screen, they could see Officer Jenkins standing on the porch, her expression serious. "I need to speak with you all again," she said as Grandma Ellie invited her in. "We have some new information and I need to confirm a few details about what happened today." The officer settled herself on the edge of the armchair while the twins and their grandmother sat on the couch opposite her. She pulled out a small notebook and flipped it open. "First, I want you both to know you did exactly the right thing today," she said, looking directly at Greg and Maya. "But I need to ask you, did you see anyone else at the lake?" their way. Daniels laughed. By the time they arrive, this will all be cleaned up. Just a tragic case of a family going off the deep end after finding an abandoned baby. Murder, suicide, most likely. So sad. You won't get away with this, their mother warned, her gun still in her hand but held at her side. Too many people know. Like who? Daniels challenged. Helen Sullivan. Oh, wait. She had an unfortunate accident. Officer Jenkins currently enjoying our hospitality. Your mother-in-law also our guest. Maya felt a surge of fear for Grandma Ellie, but her father's steady voice kept her focused. The evidence, he countered. Amber's USB drive. It's already been copied and distributed. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Daniel's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Their father replied. Why do you think we came directly here instead of going to the police? We knew exactly where to find Amber. Because we've seen everything she discovered. The patient lists, the financial transactions, the correspondence. It's all been sent to the FBI. The real FBI. Danielle's jaw tightened. Drop the gun, Mrs. Johnson, he ordered, ignoring their father's claims. Now, or your children will watch their father die. Their mother hesitated, her eyes meeting their father's in silent communication. It's okay, Denise, he said softly. Do as he says. Slowly, she bent to place the gun on the floor. In that moment of distraction, Maya noticed something through the doorway behind Daniels. Movement in the outer room. A flash of a police uniform. Help had arrived. Now kick it away, Daniels instructed, taking a step further into the room. As their mother complied, chaos erupted. Officer Davis and several police officers burst through the doorway, shouting commands. Daniel spun around, his gun raised. But before he could fire, multiple shots rang out. He crumpled to the floor as his men dropped their weapons and raised their hands. Police! Everyone down! Officer Davis shouted, rushing forward with his weapon drawn. Maya's father grabbed her and Greg, pulling them to the floor and covering them with his body as more officers swarmed into the room. The next few minutes were a blur of shouting, movement, and confusion. When it finally quieted, Maya looked up to see Officer Davis helping their mother to her feet. You okay, Denise? He asked, concern evident in his voice. She nodded shakily. Ellie, Jenkins, both safe, Davis assured her. We found them at a warehouse on the edge of town. They're shaken up, but unharmed. Their father pulled the twins to their feet, holding them close. It's over, he told them, his voice thick with emotion. You're safe now. And Amber? Maya asked, looking toward the hospital bed. A paramedic was already tending to the unconscious woman, checking her vital signs. She's stable, he reported. Looks like they've been keeping her sedated. She should recover fully. And baby Emily? Greg asked. Safe and sound at the county hospital, Officer Davis confirmed. She'll be reunited with her mother as soon as Amber's well enough. 3 weeks later, the Johnson family sat together in the living room of their home. The twins were finally back in their own beds. Their parents were no longer fighting, and the world had begun to make sense again, although in a very different way than before. The news had been full of the story. A major medical trafficking ring exposed, prominent doctors and hospital administrators arrested, wealthy clients identified and charged. Helen Sullivan was posthumously recognized for her bravery and Amber was recovering well, reunited with her daughter Emily, African Legacy Tales reports. So what happens now? Maya asked as they shared pizza on a Friday night, a family tradition that had never felt so precious. Their parents exchanged glances. "Now we go back to being a family," their mother answered. "But no more secrets." "And you, too?" their father added, looking at the twins with pride. "You need to know how incredibly brave you were. You saved lives." Greg smiled slightly. "We were pretty awesome, weren't we?" They all laughed, the sound filling the room with warmth and healing. "I've been thinking," their mother said after a moment. "Helen and her husband were so good to your father and me when we were kids. They gave us a home when we had nothing. Taught us to be strong, to stand up for what's right. That's why we named you two after them," their father revealed. "Greg after Mark Sullivan and Maya after Helen's middle name." The twins absorbed this information in wonder. Another connection they'd never known about. "Maybe," their mother continued tentatively, "when Amber and Emily are ready, we could invite them to visit. Emily will need people in her life who understand what she's been through, who can help her make sense of her story as she grows up." "I'd like that," Mia said softly, thinking of the tiny baby they'd found by the lake. A baby who would grow up never remembering the danger she'd been in, but who would someday need to understand her history. "Me, too," Greg agreed. "Besides, she's kind of like our sister in a weird way, isn't she? We're all connected now." Their father nodded, his eyes suspiciously bright. "Yes, we are. Family isn't always about blood, kids. Sometimes it's about the people who come into your life just when you need them most." As the evening continued, Maya thought about the twists and turns that had brought them to this moment. A rainy day, a decision to go fishing despite the weather, a wicker basket hidden among the reeds. How different things might have been if they had stayed home that day. Some secrets were meant to be found, she decided. Some mysteries were meant to be solved. And sometimes the most important discoveries weren't about other people at all, but about finding the courage within yourself to do what's right, no matter how frightening the journey might be. Outside, a gentle rain began to fall, tapping against the windows like a reminder of where it all began. But this time, safe within the circle of her family, Maya welcomed the sound. After all, sometimes the most unexpected blessings arrived in the midst of a storm. Sometimes it takes a child's heart to expose what adults try to hide. Greg and Maya didn't just find a baby that day. They found truth, courage, and the kind of strength most grown-ups spend a lifetime searching for. And Emily, she'll grow up safe, loved, and with the whole story. If this touched you, leave a comment and tell me what would you have done if you found her by the lake. I'll be waiting for you in the next story, African Legacy Tales.